Hello, and welcome to Vidhammer, the battle report resource for Warhammer Fantasy. In this video, we'll be covering a 2,500 point battle line matchup between the Tomb Kings and the High Elves using the 8th edition rules. The playing surface being used is 1 foot wider than regulation, so the outermost 6 inches on the left and right sides of the screen are considered to be off of the board. The terrain pieces being used are 2 hills and 2 forests in opposing corners and a mysterious swamp in the center of the battlefield. The forest and swamp types are unknown until a unit enters them. For spell generation, Teclis knows all of the spells from the Lore of Shadow, and the Tomb King gets the incantations of Desert Wind, Cursed Blades, Vengeance, and Righteous Smiting. The High Elves win the roll for placement and elect to have the Tomb Kings place first. They start with a unit of 20 skeletal archers that they place on their hill. The High Elves follow, deploying a Tyrannok chariot behind the hill on the far left of their deployment zone. 50 skeleton warriors with shields come down next to the archers, as the High Elves place 20 archers of their own on top of their hill. The Tomb Kings place another unit of 50 skeleton warriors clipping the forest, and the High Elves put down 45 spearmen next to their archers. Due to the Arrows of Asaph ability, the skeletal archers ignore all bonuses and penalties to hit, so they place their second unit of archers on the hill behind the first. The High Elves put down 35 white lions of trace next to their spearmen, headed toward the Tomb King's hill. 3 skeletal chariots come into play on the far right side of the Tomb King's battle line, and the High Elves place 10 dragon riders of Calidor just outside of their forest. With only scouts left for the High Elves, the Tomb Kings place their War Sphinx, Hierotitan, and a unit of 25 Tomb Guard with halberds in the center of their battle line. A Casket of Souls comes down just behind the Hierotitan, and 2 Flaming Skull catapults take up position on the far left of the Tomb King battle line. The High Elves put Teclis Cheese Master and a Noble Battle Standard Bearer in with the Spearmen, and the Tomb Guard play host to a Tomb King and Lich Priest. Finally, the High Elves place a scouting unit of 10 Shadow Warriors 12 inches out from the catapults. The Tomb Kings win the first player roll and move the right side of their line forward, with the upper skeleton warriors taking 3 wounds as they move out of a venom thicket. For Winds of Fate, the Tomb Kings roll a 1 and a 2, but after the Casket of Souls gives them an extra D3, and Teclis gets his extra D3, the totals end up being 6 power dice against 5 dispel dice. The Tomb Kings attempt to use the Casket's bound spell of the Leg of Death, but it gets dispelled. They also attempt a Desert Wind, but it gets dispelled as well. For shooting, both skeletal archer units fire at the Shadow Warriors for 4 wounds. The first catapult shoots for the spearmen, but the shot drifts wide. The second shoots for the Shadow Warriors, but the shot drifts off of the table. The skeleton chariots shoot 3 bow shots at the High Elf bowmen, but fail to cause any wounds. The Shadow Warriors pass their leadership test to end the phase. The High Elves start off charging the catapults with the Shadow Warriors as the right side of the battle line moves up around the swamp. In Winds of Fate, after the Banner of Sorcery and Channeling, the High Elves end up with 11 power dice against 5 dispel dice. They start by rolling 6 dice at Occam's Mind Razor on the White Lions, which they get with True Irresistible Force, but Teclis discards the first miscast. Next they use 5 dice for Pit of Shades on the Casket of Souls and get another Irresistible Force with a miscast. The spell drifts off behind the Tomb King's line, and the resultant backlash causes 5 spearmen casualties and puts a wound on Teclis. The High Elf archers target the Hierotitan and hit for a single wound. In close combat, the Shadow Warriors have hatred of all enemies and deal 2 wounds on the catapults, who strike back for 3 wounds, making the combat a tie. The Tomb Kings charge with their skeleton chariots in the second turn, but they fail and move 5 inches. The rest of the battle line does the Tomb King shuffle and steps 2 inches to the left, with 3 skeletons getting lost in the forest. For Winds of Fate, the Tomb King gets 11 power dice against 6 dispel dice. Again, they start with the Casket's Leg ability, and again it's dispelled. The Hierotitan casts the bound spell Spirit Leech on Teclis, but doesn't cause any wounds. Finally, they cast Cursed Blades on the lower skeleton unit, giving them Killing Blow. In the shooting phase, the skeleton archers target the cavalry and kill 2 models. In close combat, the Shadow Warriors take out 1 more catapult crew, which don't cause any wounds, so they take another hit in battle resolution. The Elf Chariot fails a charge against the skeleton chariots and moves 2 inches, while the High Elf cavalry fans out in front of the skeleton archers. In the magic phase, the High Elves get 12 power dice against 7 dispel dice. They roll 4 dice for Pit of Shades, which, due to double 1s, takes out the Casket of Souls. Next they cast the Withering on the Hierotitan and lower its toughness by 3. Finally they attempt Enfeebling Foe, but it gets dispelled. In the shooting phase, the archers target the Hierotitan, big surprise, and deal 5 wounds, sending him back to the sand. In close combat, the Shadow Warriors cause 2 wounds, but both get saved. The catapult crew retaliates with a single wound, but it gets saved as well. In turn 3, the skeleton chariots finally succeed in charging the elf chariot. The lower skeleton unit moves forward, but the rest of the line holds position. In Winds of Fate, due to techless cheese, the Tomb Kings end up with 6 power dice against 9 dispel dice. The Tomb Kings roll all 6 dice for Incantation of Cursed Blades and get Irresistible Force. The lower skeleton warriors gain Killing Blow, and the Tomb King takes a single wound in the backlash. Both of the skeleton archer units target the cavalry again for a single wound. In the lower combat, everyone misses everything. In the chariot battle, the skeleton chariots do 9 impact hits for 3 unsaved wounds. The High Elf chariot hits for 2 wounds, but both get saved. The skeleton chariots strike back, but don't cause any wounds. The High Elf chariot fails the leadership test and runs 9 inches, with the skeletons pursuing 8. On the High Elves' turn, the cavalry charge the skeleton archers. The High Elf archers do a quick reform and face the skeleton chariots. The Elf chariot rallies and turns around, and the spearmen move forward while the White Lions back up. In the magic phase, the elves get 12 power dice against 6 dispel dice. The first spell cast is Pit of Shades, which drifts off of the War Sphinx and takes out 4 skeletons. Next they cast the Withering on the skeleton chariots, lowering their toughness by 2. Finally, the foremost skeleton archers are reduced to a strength of 1 by Enfeebling Foe. In the shooting phase, as if we didn't know, the archers hit the chariots for 10 wounds. They save 5 and end up with a single chariot left over. In the lower close combat, the catapult crew takes a wound and doesn't give one in return, so the last crewman crumbles into the sand. The cavalry hit the skeleton archers with lances. Always strikes first and a higher initiative lets them re-roll misses, causing 12 wounds, and they don't take any in return. The archers crumble and the cavalry overrun into the second unit. 4 Tomb King units charge in the 4th turn. The chariot succeeds, the upper skeletons fail, the lower skeletons succeed, and the War Sphinx fails. The Tomb Guard do their best to move in. Winds of Fate gives the Tomb Kings 11 power dice against 8 dispel dice. They first cast Righteous Smiting, which gets dispelled. Then Cursed Blades gets dispelled with the Scroll of Hoeth that eliminates the spell completely. Finally, Incantation of Vengeance gets dispelled as Techless chews on an aged block of cheddar. The archers are in combat, so there's no shooting. In close combat, the skeleton chariot kills the elf chariot in impact hits and overruns off the board to safety. In the lower combat, the cavalry take out 14 archers and take nothing in return, sending yet another archer unit back to the sand. The cavalry reform to face the field. In the central combat, the White Lions kill off 22 skeletons who do 2 wounds in return. They lose 20 more in combat resolution, leaving 4 models left in the unit. Not much more needs to be said about this battle except don't be a skeleton. Life sucks, then you crumble. Thanks for watching this battle report. Be sure to check back for more videos each week. Do us a favor and subscribe, and as always, send us a message if you have any tactics or matchups that you'd like to see. Till next time from the Vidhammer crew, keep fighting.